Welcome to the dark lore, where ancient worlds breathe in the dark, and every night is a doorway into something older than memory. Tonight, you will not stay in the world you know. Tonight, you will travel somewhere quieter, somewhere the clocks have forgotten to turn and the air carries the weight of centuries. There is a place deep inside a forest that has never been given a name. A forest so old that the trees remember when the mountains were young, where the moss grows thick on every stone and the roots of things reach down so far they touch the bones of the earth itself. Somewhere inside that forest, far from any road, far from any sound that belongs to your world, there is a small cottage. It is made of dark stone and older wood, and its roof is heavy with the rain that falls there almost every night. Smoke rises from its chimney in a thin, patient line, disappearing into the low clouds above the trees. A single window glows with warm golden light, the kind of light that does not belong to electricity or to anything modern. It is firelight, slow and honest and alive, and it has been burning in that cottage for longer than anyone living can remember. You do not know how you found this place. You do not need to know. What matters is that you are here now, standing at the edge of the trees, and the rain is beginning to fall on your shoulders, and somewhere ahead of you, that warm light is waiting. You walk toward the light, and the forest receives you without alarm. The trees here are tall and dark, their canopies so thick above you that the rain barely reaches the ground, arriving instead as a soft mist that settles on your skin and your hair and the backs of your hands. The path beneath your feet is not really a path at all, just a suggestion in the earth, a slight giving of the ground where others have walked before you, though not recently and not often. The roots of ancient oaks arch across the ground like sleeping fingers, and you step over them carefully, not out of fear but out of respect, the way you would move through any place that belongs to something older than yourself. As you walk, the air changes around you in ways that are difficult to name. There is wood smoke, yes, drifting through the trees in slow, invisible rivers, but beneath it something else, something green and dark and medicinal, the smell of things that grow in shadow, of bark and resin, and the particular sweetness of herbs that only release their scent at night. The smell grows stronger with every step. The light grows warmer, and then the trees thin slightly, and you see it clearly for the first time. The cottage sits in a small clearing, low and solid, as if it grew there rather than was built. Ivy covers most of its walls, dark and glistening with rain. The door is heavy wood, old iron hinges, and above it, hanging from a short beam, are bundles of dried herbs tied with rough twine, dozens of them, swaying very slightly in the night air. You stand at the edge of the clearing for a moment and simply look at it, and something in your chest, something tired and heavy that you have been carrying for longer than you realized, begins, very slowly, to loosen. You cross the clearing and stand before the door, and without quite deciding to, you push it open. It swings inward without resistance, without a sound, as though it has been expecting you. The warmth that meets you is immediate and total, the kind of warmth that does not just touch your skin but moves through it, settling into your muscles and your bones like something you have been missing for a long time without knowing what it was. You step inside and pull the door closed behind you, and the sound of the rain outside becomes muffled and gentle, a soft percussion on the stone roof above, steady and low and deeply soothing. The room is small. One room, really, though it contains everything a life might need. The fireplace dominates the far wall, wide and deep, filled with a fire that burns in slow orange and amber waves, unhurried. as though it has all the time in the world. Before it sits a wide wooden chair, its arms worn smooth by years of use, a thick blanket folded over one arm. To your left, shelves cover the entire wall from floor to ceiling, heavy with glass jars of every size, each one filled with something different. Dried flowers, roots, seeds, powders of deep red and pale silver and dusty green. Some jars glow faintly, as though whatever is inside carries a light of its own, and you do not find this strange here. On the large wooden table in the center of the room, a mortar and pestle sits beside an open book, its pages covered in careful handwriting and detailed drawings of plants you do not recognize. A single candle burns beside the book, and next to the candle, a ceramic cup, still steaming. Someone was just here, and though the cottage is empty now, it does not feel abandoned. It feels paused, like a breath held gently, waiting for you to settle before it exhales. You move toward the fire and lower yourself into the wide chair, and it receives you the way a good chair always does, yielding in exactly the right places, holding you where you need to be held. The blanket is within reach, and you pull it over yourself without thinking, and it is heavier than you expected, warm and faintly scented with lavender and something else, something resinous and dark and deeply calming. The fire in front of you breathes slowly. That is the only word for it. It breathes, expanding and contracting in long, slow pulses of light, and the shadows in the room move with it, not frightening but alive, the way shadows and firelight have always been alive, since the very first night a human being sat before a flame and felt the dark outside become something manageable, something held back by warmth and light. You let your eyes move slowly around the room. The jars on the shelves catch the firelight and hold it in small golden pools. The open book on the table flutters one page very slightly in some movement of air you cannot identify, then settles. The candle flame stands perfectly still. The rain on the roof continues its quiet conversation, steady and unhurried, and you realize that you have been listening to it since you came inside without being aware of it, that it has already begun to organize your breathing, that you are already, without having tried, beginning to breathe in the rhythm of the rain, in and out, slow and even. The fire gives a single soft crack, like a word in a language older than any you know, and the room fills briefly with a brighter pulse of amber light, and then dims again to its steady, breathing warmth. Your eyes find the ceramic cup on the table, and without quite deciding to move, you find yourself reaching for it. It is warm in your hands, the heat moving through your palms and up through your wrists and into your arms in a slow, spreading wave, and you hold it there for a moment before you bring it close enough to smell. The steam rises in thin, curling threads, and the scent that reaches you is complex and layered in a way that takes a moment to understand. There is chamomile, soft and golden, the smell of old meadows and late summer evenings. There is honey, dark and thick, the kind that comes from bees that feed on flowers with no common names. And beneath those two things, something else, something that has no name in any language you speak, something that smells like deep forest floor after rain, like the inside of an ancient library, like the moment just before sleep when the thoughts begin to loosen their hold and drift. You take a slow sip. The warmth moves down through your chest and into your stomach like something settling into place, and you feel the muscles of your shoulders drop by some small but significant degree. Feel your jaw unclench. Feel the space behind your eyes soften. You take another sip, and then you set the cup on the arm of the chair and lean back, and the blanket seems to tighten around you very slightly. the way blankets do when you have finally stopped resisting them, when you have finally given your body permission to be still. You let your gaze travel slowly across the shelves, not searching for anything, just looking the way you look at a fire or a rain-covered window, without purpose, with a kind of soft and drifting attention that asks nothing of you. The jars are extraordinary in their variety. Some are tall and thin, filled with long dried stems of something dark purple, the flowers still intact, preserved perfectly, as though they were cut only yesterday. Others are wide and squat, packed with roots that twist around each other in pale, complicated shapes. One jar near the center of the middle shelf contains what appears to be nothing at all, just darkness, a deeper darkness than the glass should be capable of holding. And yet when the firelight catches it at a certain angle, something shifts inside it. Some quality of the darkness changes, and you look away without knowing quite why. Not afraid, just respectful, the way you would look away from something private. The labels on the jars are written in a small, precise hand, in what might be a very old form of a language you almost recognize. The letters familiar in their shapes, but assembled into words that mean nothing to you. And this too feels entirely correct, entirely as it should be, because this is not your world, and these are not your remedies, and you are here only as a guest, only to rest, only to let the fire and the rain and the deep chair and the warm blanket do what they have clearly been, doing for travelers far more tired than you, for a very, very long time. You become aware, gradually, of a presence near the base of the fire that you had not noticed before. It is a cat, large and very dark, almost black, curled into a perfect circle on the hearthstone, its tail wrapped around its nose, its eyes closed. It breathes slowly, its sides rising and falling in a rhythm even slower than the fire, even slower than the rain, and watching it, you feel something in your own body begin to follow that rhythm. Some deep animal part of you recognizing sleep in another creature and responding to it the way bodies respond to yawning, with a sympathetic loosening, a gentle pull toward the same stillness. The cat does not acknowledge you. It does not open its eyes or shift its position or in any way indicate that it is aware of your presence. And this is not rudeness, but simply the profound indifference of a creature that is completely at peace, that has no reason to be on guard, that trusts the walls of this cottage and the warmth of this fire absolutely and without reservation. You watch it for a long moment, the slow rise and fall of its dark sides, the perfect stillness of its face, the utter completeness of its rest, and something in you that has been watching and waiting and half prepared for something to require your attention begins, very quietly, to stand down. There is nothing here that needs you. There is nothing here that asks anything of you at all. The cat knows this. The fire knows this. And slowly, slowly, you are beginning to know it too. Outside, the rain intensifies and the sound on the roof above you changes, becomes richer and more layered, the individual drops losing themselves in a continuous low roar that is somehow not loud at all, that is somehow exactly the right volume for a room this warm and this still. You can hear it in the chimney too, a distant rushing sound behind the crackle of the fire, and on the window to your right, the drops run down the old glass in long, slow lines, catching the firelight briefly before disappearing. The wind moves through the forest outside in long, slow waves, and you can hear the trees receiving it, the deep collective sigh of 10,000 leaves giving way to something larger than themselves, and then the silence after, the held breath of the forest floor, the drip of water from branch to branch on its long, slow journey to the ground. You have not thought about anything for several minutes now. This is not an achievement you are aware of. It is simply what happens in a place like this, where there is nothing to think about and nowhere to be and no version of yourself required that is different from the one sitting here in this chair with this blanket and this cup and this fire. The thoughts that do come are slow and strange and without urgency, fragments of images that belong to no particular memory, colors without shapes, sounds without sources, the beginning of the particular dream logic that arrives in the shallow waters between waking and sleep, when the mind begins to speak in a language it only uses when no one is watching. Your eyes drift to the open book on the table, and from where you sit you can see the page it is open to, though not clearly enough to read the words. The drawings are visible, though rendered in a fine and careful hand, ink lines so precise they seem almost printed. One drawing shows a plant you have never seen, its leaves shaped like open hands, its stem covered in small nodes from which thin roots extend in all directions, as though the plant is reaching for something in every direction simultaneously. Beside it, another drawing, this one of the night sky, but a night sky with more stars than any you have ever seen, and the stars connected by lines into constellations that bear no resemblance to the ones you know. New shapes, new stories written in light across a sky that belongs to this world and not to yours. At the bottom of the page, a single drawing of the moon, not round but slightly irregular, as moons are when you look at them carefully, and around it a ring of small symbols that might be numbers or might be something else entirely, measurements of something that has no equivalent in any system you were taught. You look at the book for a long time without trying to understand it, simply appreciating the care that went into it, the long patient hours of observation and recording, someone sitting at this very table for nights and years and perhaps decades, writing down everything the darkness taught them. And the thought of that kind of patient devotion to quiet knowledge is itself deeply calming, like a reminder that not everything important happens quickly. The fire has settled lower now, the tall flames of earlier replaced by a bed of deep orange coals that pulse with a slower and more ancient light, and the room is slightly dimmer for it, the shadows larger, the corners of the shelves receding into a soft darkness that is not threatening, but simply the natural state of a room at rest. The candle on the table has burned down by a small but noticeable degree, its flame still perfectly steady, a thin column of warm light in the dimmer room. The cat has not moved. The rain has not stopped. And you have not moved either, you realize, for quite some time. Not fidgeted or shifted or reached for anything. Just sat here in the growing stillness of the room, your body heavier than it was an hour ago, heavier than it has felt in days perhaps, a heaviness that is not exhaustion, but something better, the particular weight of a body that has finally been given permission to stop, that has finally accepted that nothing is required of it, that the work is done, that the night is here, that the chair and the blanket and the fire are more than sufficient, that this is enough, that you are enough, exactly as you are, exactly here, exactly now. The thought arrives without drama and without words, just as a feeling, a settling, a slow release of something you have been holding without knowing you were holding it. And in the space where that thing was, there is warmth, and the sound of rain, and the breathing light of the fire, and nothing else. On the shelf nearest to your chair, at eye level, there is a small bottle you had not noticed before. It is dark blue glass, almost black, no taller than your hand, stopped with a cork wrapped in dark wax. Inside it, visible when the firelight catches it at exactly the right angle, something moves with an extremely slow rotation, something that gives off a faint silver light, like a miniature version of something astronomical, like the memory of a moon caught in glass. You do not reach for it. You have no desire to open it or examine it more closely. You only watch it from where you sit, the way you watch the fire, with a kind of unfocused appreciation, and the slow silver movement inside the bottle is hypnotic in the gentlest possible way, like the second hand of a clock in a quiet room, or the surface of very still water touched by a single drop, the ripples moving outward in perfect circles, smaller and smaller, until the surface is still again. Your eyelids are heavy, not uncomfortably so, pleasantly so, the way eyelids feel after a long day in clean air, after exercise and good food, and the particular satisfaction of having been fully present for the hours that led to this moment. You blink slowly. The room dims briefly and brightens again. The silver light in the bottle continues its slow rotation. The fire breathes. The rain speaks in its low, continuous voice on the roof above, and you let your eyes close for a moment, just to rest them, and the darkness behind your eyelids is warm and orange and very, very soft. Sometime later, you are not sure how much later, your eyes open again, and you notice for the first time a small folded piece of paper on the arm of the chair beside you. You do not know how it got there. You do not find this strange. You unfold it slowly, your movements unhurried, and read what is written there in the same small, precise hand as the labels on the jars. It says, "You found your way here, as the tired always do, eventually. The fire is yours for the night. The tea will keep you warm. Do not worry about the morning. The morning is very good at taking care of itself, and it has never once needed your help to arrive. Sleep now. The forest is watching over this place, as it always has, and nothing that does not belong here can enter while the fire burns, and the fire here, as you may have noticed, has very strong opinions about burning. Rest well, traveler. You have walked further than you know." You fold the paper again and set it back on the arm of the chair, and you feel something move through you that is not quite an emotion, but is close to one, a wave of something warm and quiet, a feeling of being known and cared for by something larger and older than yourself, by the cottage and the fire and the rain and the forest beyond, by the herbalist who left this place ready for exactly this, for someone exactly like you, arriving on exactly this kind of night. You close your eyes and listen to the rain, and in the rain you hear, or imagine you hear, the forest beyond the walls, the vast, dark, patient world of it, the trees standing in their thousands in the wet dark, their roots deep in the ancient soil, their branches moving slowly in the wind. You think of how far the forest extends, in all directions from this small, warm room, miles and miles of dark and rain, and the quiet life of things that do not need light to go about their business. Owls moving silently between the trees, foxes with their noses to the ground, the slow passage of something larger and older through the undergrowth that leaves no trace by morning. All of it going on out there in the dark, all of it completely indifferent to the small warm room where you are sitting, and yet somehow that indifference is not lonely but comforting, like the knowledge that the world is large enough to contain your rest without any part of it requiring your attention. You are very small, inside this cottage, inside this forest, inside this night. And this smallness is not diminishment, but relief. The relief of not being the largest or most important thing in the room. The relief of being, for once, simply a warm body in a chair by a fire. Nothing more required, nothing more expected, nothing more possible than this simple and sufficient fact. The thoughts come slower now, and stranger, the way thoughts do when the border is near. You think of a color that does not exist in the waking world, a deep and shifting blue-green that seems to move like water, but is somehow solid, somehow the color of a sound, of the particular note the rain makes when it finds the old iron guttering on the side of the cottage and runs along it in a thin, fast stream. You think of a door in a wall you have never seen, in a place that does not belong to any geography you know. And you know without knowing how you know that behind that door is another room like this one, and behind that room another, an infinite succession of warm rooms in dark cottages in old forests and rainy nights, each one prepared, each one waiting, each one with a fire and a chair and a blanket and a cup of something warm and a note from someone who understood what you needed before you did. You are not quite thinking these things so much as watching them, the way you watch clouds, without attachment, without the need to hold or understand or follow any of it to a conclusion. The images come and go like the fire comes and goes, brightening and dimming, and between them there is the warmth and the rain and the steady breathing of the cat on the hearthstone and the deep orange light on the inside of your closed eyelids. And all of it is the same thing. Really, all of it is just the night, being the night, doing what it has always done, covering everything softly in its dark, unhurried way. You are going somewhere now. You can feel it, the way you feel the approach of sleep only in the last moments before it arrives, a deepening, a softening of the boundary between the room and wherever it is you go when you leave it. The sounds are still there, the rain, the fire, but they are more distant now, not fading but receding, as though you are moving slowly away from them rather than them moving away from you, descending through layers of quiet into something deeper and more still. Your body is very heavy. Every part of it has given itself over completely to the chair, to the blanket, to the pull of whatever is below the surface of waking. Your hands are warm and still. Your chest rises and falls with a slowness that is very close to the slowness of the fire, very close to the slowness of the cat, very close to the slowness of the rain finding its way through the roots of the great trees and down through the layers of dark earth toward wherever water goes when it is done with the surface of things. You are not trying to sleep. You stopped trying some time ago. Sleep is not a thing you try for. You understand that now. Sleep is a thing that finds you when you have made yourself findable, when you have stopped moving and stopped thinking and stopped requiring anything of the night except that it hold you, which it is doing, which it has been doing all along, which it will continue to do until the morning comes, gently, with the light arriving first in the window glass, and then on the floor, and then on the warm ash of the fire that is burned down in. The night, and the cat stretching on the hearthstone, and the rain gone quiet, and you, still here, still warm, still held. And so you go, down through the last thin layer of waking, through the place where thought becomes image and image becomes sensation and sensation becomes the simple fact of being alive in the dark and the warm, and below that, below everything, the deep country of sleep opening around you like a forest opens when you have walked far enough into it, the trees spacing out, the canopy thinning, and above you, between the dark branches, stars you have never seen before, burning slow and cold and beautiful in a sky that belongs to this place alone, this deep and quiet country that your body knows better than your mind does, that your body has been walking towards since the moment you sat down in this chair and pulled this blanket over yourself and held that warm cup in your hands and let the fire look at you and found, perhaps for the first time and longer than you can remember, that you had nothing left to prove to it. Sleep now. The cottage holds you. The forest holds the cottage. The night holds the forest. And something older than all of it, something that has no name in any language spoken by the waking, holds the night itself, gently, the way the herbalist holds her rarest jars, with great care and no urgency, knowing that what is inside is precious and patient and will always keep, through any number of long, dark, rainy nights, for as many travelers as needed, for as long as travelers needed, which is to say, forever. This is the dark lore. Sleep well.